Elitism is not the problem. Elitism is the solution. Having standards, once more, is how we fix anime, games, movies, television, everything. And this is a rant I've been wanting to do for a while, and so the article titled "Anime Tourism Isn't the Problem, Elitism Is" well, it's giving me a great excuse, isn't it? So, let's talk about it. Now, this article talks about anime, but the arguments it makes can equally well be applied to video gaming and anything else, and my counter-arguments should and could be done so as well, as we have tried now what would happen if we don't gatekeep our hobbies, if we simply try to share it as far and wide as possible. Disaster is what happens then. Every community that grows eventually forgets what it feels like to be small. Anime used to be a secret handshake, something whispered about in school hallways, traded on burned CDs and defended against ridicule. It was a culture built by outcasts who found meaning in stories that the mainstream ignored. That is correct. Back in the day when I was but a youth, video games were not cool. Anime was certainly not cool. Even things like comics were viewed as dangerously nerdy, although it was already mainstream enough to the point where it was at least marginally acceptable. Now that same culture fills stadiums, dominates streaming platforms and trends across social media daily. But with that success came a strange bitterness. The very people who once begged for anime to be accepted are now the ones resenting how popular it's become. Yes, that was a big mistake on our part. They complain that anime isn't what it used to be. The fandom is full of tourists, and the newcomers are ruining the community. What they don't realize is that this gatekeeping says more about them than it does about anyone else. That is correct. It says that we had a good thing, as can anyone argue that anime wasn't better before? That it wasn't produced with greater quality? You could argue about the quantity, certainly, but look at the old Gundam shows, for example. Look at stuff like Vampire Hunter, and tell me that the current year slop is in any way comparable. Same with gaming, same with movies, television, series. Everything was quite literally better before. This isn't rose-tinted glasses, this is an observable fucking reality. And well, we wonder then, what could have happened? What turned our glorious playgrounds of 2000s-esque video games into what it is today? Normies. The word tourist in anime world doesn't mean something traveling to Japan or visiting anime landmarks. It's a new kind of label, one meant to draw a line between real fans and fake ones. An anime tourist is someone who only watches what's trending, the meme-fueled algorithm boost title. So tourism has become a general term in all of fandoms now, to delineate between not those who watch the casual stuff, because there are plenty of people who are genuinely into anime who also watch the casual stuff. The real delineation is between somebody who actually gives a shit and somebody who simply has adopted it as a fashion statement, as what is cool today, what is expedient, or what is politically interesting. They follow hype cycles, set of studio lineups, scroll through edits instead of reading manga, and often disappear as quickly as they arrive. Some jumped in during the pandemic boom, anime became more accessible than ever. Others treat the fandom like a fashion statement, an aesthetic to match their playlist and social media feeds. To veteran fans, the people like intruders, tourists, and land they never helped build. And worse still, they are a degrading force on that land. See, the reason why the label tourist works so well also comes with various groupings of the world, like Spain, for example, and various nations, where huge numbers of foreign tourists come in and basically settle that area, buying up all of the land, creating schools for their own children, and seeing, well, all of the house prices skyrocket to the point where the locals can no longer live there. Now, one can certainly launch a fair few counter-arguments of that against the crying over that as well, but the theory is the same. The tourist is somebody who comes in, only knows the surface level thing, and then attempts actively, either through malice or ignorance, to destroy that thing. That frustration didn't come out of nowhere. For many older fans, anime used to be hard to find and even harder to love publicly. They remember late nights waiting for episodes to load, trading bootlegs on blank discs, and getting laughed at for liking cartoons. To them, watching anime wasn't just entertainment, it was identity. And now, with anime everywhere, that identity feels diluted. When everyone can claim it, what does it mean to have been there from the start? But this defensiveness has curdled into elitism. Social media has become flooded with fans who dismiss newcomers as tourists, shallow, clout-chasing viewers who only care about what's cool that season. It's a sentiment wrapped in superiority. If you only watch what's popular, you're not a real fan. Some go further, calling others fake weebs, or treating those who dislike certain tropes like lollies or over-sexualized characters as moral outsiders. What was once a haven for weird, passionate people has started to mirror the judgmental mainstream it once rebelled against. That is actually an excellent point, because you know what's happening? You know why the old guard is rebelling against the new? Because that very same judgmental mainstream is now in our hobby. The killer is in the house. That very same, like you just said there, lollies are over-sexualized characters. This has been in anime since the fucking dawn of it. This is integral to what anime is. You can't get rid of it without getting rid of a portion of anime. And new people coming in going, oh, I don't like that. What is this fan service? That is the judgmental mainstream in our entertainment. Again, the difference between a tourist and a fan is a fan likes the thing for what it is. He may argue that some things could be changed, that some quality elemental might be upped, or certain iterations, but he wishes for it to remain legitimately the same that it has been. He only wishes for it to get better, if anything. The tourist, however, comes in with an entirely different worldview and goes, oh, I don't like that. I mean, I love anime, but can we get rid of the fan service? Isn't that puerile? No. Fuck you. It's always been here, and we like it that way. The danger of this mindset isn't just that it's cruel, I don't give a shit. The lack of cruelty. Cruelty is a virtue. Cruelty is goodness. We tried infinite tolerance, and it gained us nothing but pain and suffering and falling standards on every single level, throughout it, even from the corporations themselves, to the point where now even the niche has become mainstreamified. Our tolerance has given us stuff like this thing here. I'm sure some of you have already seen this. The new Batman thing. See, here's the thing. If we already had loads of good Batman entertainment, if we were in the middle of the heights of cartoons right now, I wouldn't mind this irreverent bullshit that pisses all over everything Batman is in the name of humor, comedy, and for the kids. It could be for a different audience, but we don't. We've got nothing in that genre. Last Batman we have is Caped Crusader, which barely features the fucking Batman. And you produce this? Again, like, we used to have things that were irreverent. Like, for example, The Tick was literally that. The Tick was basically a satirical dig at cartoons and superheroes. But everyone loved it because it was during the golden age of this stuff. It is fine to produce the tongue-in-cheek bullshit take once you're already eating good of the main course. But if all you present is jokey side dishes that 98% of people are going to absolutely despise, that's not good. That's not beneficial, it's not advantageous, and it's not going to help the setting, the franchise, or the fans, or anybody. It is that it's hypocritical. Every fan starts somewhere, and most of those somewhere are mainstream. The same people who mock anime tourists once began with gateway hits like Naruto, Bleach, or Death Note. The only difference between them and the so-called tourists is that they had the time and interest to keep going. Shaming others for not being as deep into the fandom doesn't make someone more authentic, it makes them forgetful. Incorrect. The difference is that they stick with it and delved deeper. That is the difference. They embraced it rather than tried to change it. This kind of elitism grows from nostalgia. Many older fans look back on the early days with rose-colored glasses when the community was smaller. The shows felt grittier and the passion felt purer. Because it was. But that purity came from limitation. Anime wasn't hard to find because it was better back then. It was hard to find because it was inaccessible. Being an anime fan used to mean being willing to dig, to import, to pirate, because the industry barely acknowledged you. What fans miss isn't quality, it's exclusivity. And it is standards. Again, what you talk about here is exactly disproven. The people who got into anime back then didn't do so through mainstream hits that streamed on every television channel, that ran on fucking Cartoon Networks or Fox Kids. It was the stuff that you had to import. You had to find fan subbing sites to even understand what the fuck they were saying. It had a genuinely far more passionate group of fans. It was the same for video gaming as well. To get a hold of video games, you either need to read specific magazines to know what was good. They were only available in certain stores. Many titles could only be ordered or burned and shared amongst friends. And that nostalgia often comes with jealousy. No, it doesn't. It's not jealousy, it's fucking hatred for what you've taken away from me. Fans who built their identities around being outsiders now see younger people enjoying anime freely and feel pushed aside. It's a toys mine mentality. No, it is not. You know what it is? It is a you fucking broke my toys mentality. You've heard the stories, right? Of like a kid breaking into a dude's Gundam cabinet here and trashing everything? Like a life's work of collection just smashed to pieces. That is what tourists feel like. They come in and go, oh, female space marines would make it more inclusive. Shut up. Oh, why can't Batman be replaced by a black woman? Shut up. Oh, why can't all video game female characters be ugly? Shut up. That is what it feels like. It isn't jealousy, it's fucking hatred. The dream was always to make anime accepted, to make it accessible, to let others see its beauty. That dream came true, and some people don't know how to handle that. Yes, the dream was, hey, fuck, I've got this amazing thing. I want to tell you about it. It's so cool, you're gonna love it. And then they go, wow, that is pretty cool. Let me just shove that up my ass for a little bit, rub feces all over it, and then hand it back to you and go like, look, I made it better. There's a key difference between being an experienced fan and being an elitist. The experienced fan used their time in the fandom to share knowledge, recommending all the series, explaining the artistry, helping others dive deeper. The elitists used their experience as a weapon, belittling the newcomer, scoffing at trends, and treating fandom as a hierarchy. The first keeps anime alive, the second keeps it locked away. The first was what got us here in the first place. We were all far too eager, and you can explain all you want, and they're not going to care. Have you, like, again, for 40k content, which is my forte, of course, you can, I have done so many videos on this. I have talked to so many people. I've done so many reaction videos on this, read so many articles about it. You can explain ad infinitum for hours at a time why female space marines do not work. You can tell them how it would ruin the setting, how it would reduce the rhetorical argument, how it would undermine so many key pieces of lore as to literally be destructive to the entire fucking universe. They don't care because that's not their priority. The priority is the real world. Another definition of a tourist is somebody who puts politics ahead of the fandom. There is no explanation. There is only shutting the gate and mocking them, belittling them, making them feel unfucking welcome and hoping to God they leave. The truth is that anime tourism is a symptom of success, not decline. Unfortunately, yes, but decline not in all things. The fact that people who never would have touched anime a decade ago now call themselves fans is a victory. It means anime has crossed the borders, languages, and generations. The tourists will come for the hype, might not stay for long, but some will, and those who do will carry the culture forward the same way the early fans once did. No, they won't. In best case scenario, they too will become elitists. They're like, I'm watching this happen live right now with video gaming. People who play like Total War Warhammer as their first Total War game, going like, wow, this is really good. And most of them will never play anything else. That for them will be the peak of gaming. That will be their casual entrance portal into a wider world. But some of them will then go, I heard about these older Total War games, and they'll pick up Medieval, and they'll go, holy shit! Why does this have so many more mechanics? Why is this so much more complex? Why is this so much more fun? Those will simply become the elitists again. The rest will simply remain tourists. The widest possible dissemination of our hobbies is not a virtue. We must not view it as a victory. You must understand that standards is a good thing. Elitism once used to mean, as they said, the asshole who belittles others based on obscure factoids that nobody else really knows. Fair enough, but there were very, very few of those, and it was seen as a highly negative thing. Elitism has never been a popular thing, but now it is becoming necessary. Just last ArchCast, we watched the Major Kill video, where the argument was like, listen, don't you rather want a guy like me who gets the lore like majoratively right? Like, no, I don't. I want somebody who gets the lore all right, preferably. I don't want 5-minute TikToks. I want an hour-long dense video that scares the fuck out of 98% of people and only draws in those who are willing and genuinely there to be like, okay, I want to learn about those things. That is the fandom we need to reignite, reconquer, return to. Not the casualization of it, as the casualization undoubtedly and inevitably leads to decline in quality, because quality follows passion. If you have people who aren't passionate, you're going to get irrelevant. Oh, my English is today bad. Inferior versions. You are not going to have the same burning interest for it in the industry, in the people consuming it, and so on. We've seen it in games, we've seen it in music, television. We don't need to make the argument anymore. This is created by the casual audience right here. Meanwhile, this is created by the passionate audience right here. If you haven't watched The Tick, by the way, do. Really good. Elitism is not the problem. It is the solution. Gatekeep. Gatekeep harder. If, indeed, it is as they say that anime is as good now as it ever will, then simply keeping people out of it will not diminish that. If, however, it has taken a sharp decline, with countless fucking isekai shows, just like gaming and 40k, then keeping a bunch of the more casual elements outside, regardless of how desperately the companies might want to cater to them, will only improve things, as the casual audience as well has never once proven to be able to make something a significant success, because the casuals by definition don't care. They don't follow the news. They don't go to gaming websites to pick up on the latest game. They buy one entry. They play COD, or they play Maiden, or they watch one anime series. Their exclusion from the fandom, regardless of what fandom it is, will have next to no effect on that fandom. Again, gatekeep. Gatekeep, gatekeep, always. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.